It's all about provoking thought processes. And what I found over the last 21 years is that boards like it when they're doing forward planning, central banks like it for the risk mitigation, and I think our clients love it because it's engaging and it gives them ability to it's like being at a good dinner table conversation where people are pushing against each other.
Yeah, one that you can put in your pocket and take with you this week. Now, you mentioned the smooth road is ending. I think that is a feeling we've had on markets. It gets very bumpy from here around the geopolitics, around energy transition, and around the narrative that we've had of very cheap money for a long time. The first prediction, with oil at $150, Saudis buy Champions League franchise. Is this the best use of their money when they can be diversifying to other sources of income, putting it into a football league?
That part of the question is easy to answer. That seems like what they're already doing, right? They're emptying out the Premiership for world-class players. But the point here is more, I think, a philosophical one. Can money buy everything? Absolutely. Is FIFA up for grabs? Absolutely. That's what we've seen in the past, at least my personal opinion. But what this is that the domestic consumption of capital is increasing globally. That is one of the global trends. That is for real. You see the super BRICS. You have some of the world's, you have 5 or 6 of the world's biggest exporters, and you have the 2 biggest importers. Similarly, we see this fragmentation working. Why wouldn't they use fragmentation to get, sports washing or whatever you want to call it? But net, I think this is all about, can money buy everything? And that's the question we want to raise to the clients.
And soft power through sport. This is an old playbook, right? And one that the Saudis still want to be engaged with. Does that send a positive signal about their engagement with other communities and countries?
I think people care. I mean, think about Sky News was built entirely on the Premiership broadcasting starting in, the 1990s, right? So I think what the TV stations, what the narrative, what the media has learned is that sports is the number one go-to action point in terms of creating, a different spin or a different narrative.
Let's talk about Wegovy and the other weight loss pills. It's been huge. Novozymes shot to the top of the stock Europe 600, taking on LVMH. You've seen it in the United States with Eli Lilly. The market is obsessed with these obesity drugs and what they can mean in terms of reducing health reliance on drugs to fight diabetes, cardiovascular. It is seen as a miracle pill. But there could be a downside, and I think we're all worried about that. You say perhaps it means people stop exercising, triggering a major health crisis.
Yeah, I mean, I think, again, it's a bit of a philosophical issue here. Is it a good thing that we can just buy a pill? Obviously, some people who are really severely hit by obesity or have, constraints in terms of how they work out. But think about if we can eat a pill, you're not going to go to the gym, you're not going to go to a football match, you're not going to go for that extra run, you're not going to go into nature. I think that's one part. The second part is that the calculation going on right now in government is the following. If we can reduce the cost of obesity into the healthcare system, we have a huge saving on our hands. At the same time, you can also see insurance company, in particular in the US, making this something which is within the plan, and that would create a huge demand, ending up a situation where actually there's an excess demand relative to the production. Someone like Novo will already have some issue with getting enough pills onto the market, and if it's going to be done at scale, we can end up with a lot of people on the pills but not getting the pills, and then ultimately not changing the way of they live and doing it. I think this is a very, very fundamental question that you have to be balancing in terms of health improvement, health costs, which is going to drive politics, and personally, are you really going to get away with just eating a pill to make your life more meaningful?
Yeah, it's funny. There's a lot of that. What the insurance companies have rewarded customers for going to the gym. You've had discounts.
The watches,
right.
the rings,
Exactly. So it could upend what we're seeing. There's so much more to debate there, but I want to get through some of the other big topics. The end of capitalism in the United States. The US government forced to increase fiscal spending amid the 2024 elections. Just talk us through this and some of the social problems here.
I think this is a critical one because it plays to the big theme that was in 23. Which was sometimes during 23, we sort of started doubting whether the U.S. could finance at the rate that they do right now in terms of the deficit. So you have this huge still incoming flow of money that's going to go to the market. If you do not attract enough buyers, maybe the government goes out and say, we will make, capital gains and income tax on government bonds free, sort of buy America's status. But think about what that does to capitalism. What you're really essentially then doing is that you are moving capital from the private sector, i.e. the equity market, the IPOs, into the government sector and the financing of the debt that the government doesn't want to address. This is massive. This is ongoing. It's probably one of the ones, maybe not in 2024, but it's definitely down the line when you have a new president in the White House that's going to come through.
What about the economics here? The old theory is spend it and they will come. You know, the Field of Dreams story where you spend a ton of money on building for the future, which is exactly what IRA is about. IRA is doing that. Doesn't it mean that you build growth, that companies just reinvest because it's such a friendly environment? So therefore, the coffers stateside look like they're in rude health.
Well, the coffers is definitely coming down, not up, despite the fact that of course, the economic activity has been very high, full employment. But yes, not all debt is created equally. Any debt that is used to increase productivity will be a gain for society and the GDP and the general GDP per capita income. But net, what a lot of these schemes are actually doing what credit is in terms of definition. Credit is, future spending put forward to today, pulled back to today. So no, 10-20% of that debt is productivity gains for society. But net, this is really about keeping a system alive, unfortunately. And that's why this could come to fruition.